Hello again, a very warm welcome back to the Ref Show. As ever, there's plenty to discuss. Praise where it's due for several referees, including Anthony Taylor, and also a championship referee who did particularly well in a big derby fixture. But there's no escaping the fact that the centre of attention was on one match in particular and one referee in particular. I'd like to welcome back Keith Hackett to the panel this week, alongside Mark Halsey, and of course this was the London derby, Chelsea Arsenal, and Martin Atkinson was in the middle against the advice of our experts last week, including you, Mark, who particularly took issue with the appointment.
Well, as we said last week, Alan, you know, he had that game at Anfield, missed a couple of the big decisions, got them wrong. Then he went on into Europe, Bayer Leverkusen and Benfica, where he got another decision wrong, a penalty that he got wrong, and then he's gone on, he's given the game to go and do the London derby. Now, for me, from a management point of view, I think that's totally wrong, totally inept of the management to give him that game.
Was it unfair on the referee himself?
Yeah, I don't blame the referee, because I know what it's like going into Europe. Keith's been there, I've been there. You referee on a weekend, and you're flying out to do a European game or wherever it is in Europe, and you come back and you are physically and mentally tired. And I would say Marty's preparation for that game was not there, because he would be physically and mentally tired. And when that happens, you're going to make mistakes.
And of course, Keith, the previous weekend, he'd been at fault in the Merseyside derby. A couple of penalties he should have awarded and didn't, should have sent Gareth Barry off. So and also the midweek game, so he's coming into that, really carrying quite a lot of baggage.
I'm slightly bemused by the appointments. I've mentioned that previously. You know, I look at the appointments and I see Mark Clattenburg, fourth official, on Saturday and Sunday. He is the #1 referee, and I'm thinking, well, why isn't he out refereeing? And then we look at the appointment of Martin Atkinson. I used to withdraw the referees from appointments when they'd had a particularly indifferent performance. And I think, in fairness to Martin, he shouldn't have been given that game. And he's gone into that game, and I concur with what Mark has said. He's gone into that game probably lacking a bit in confidence. He's not the best man manager, which is surprising given his police background, because he's neither the best conflict manager either.
He's a very low profile figure, actually, isn't he? Yeah.
He's low profile, and the reality is, this is a London derby. It's a massive game, and it needs the best referee on it. Now, I take the point that he's an international referee, he's on the elite panel, but he's coming into that game unprepared for what's in front of him, having had the previous weekend.
Can we just look at the incidents involved? I mean, just to remind people, there should have been 3, possibly 4 red cards in that game. Cahill's challenge, you know, Keith, in your blog has said it's a red. Koscielny was spared a red for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. There was the Welbeck challenge as well, could have been a straight red, and a handball by Fabregas as well that seemed to be missed there.
Let me make an observation. A referee who's got a big derby game of that nature has to impose control and authority, and the players have got to have confidence in the referee, in the knowledge that they understand what he's doing. With the Cahill challenge, which is not even iffy, the speed and intensity of it is such that you know instantly. You don't need replays, you don't need to go to a video ref, that's a dismissal. No card comes out, red card comes out, just a yellow. That sends us a massive signal to the other players in this game who've seen that challenge thinking, oh, I can get away with that. And as a result, his control, if you like, and the respect that they have for him begins to be eroded immediately.
But also, Keith, in those big games, I mean, I've done many of them. You know, it's all about managing the event, managing the players, managing the game. But there are some instances that come in these big games that you cannot manage, and you've got to be mentally strong, mentally tough to make that unpopular decision. And Martin didn't do that. And going back to his big game at Anfield, as a referee, you cannot be given the big games all the time, because your body's not going to be able to do it. You're just going to be mentally tired and physically tired. And so, yes, you've done that big game. and then they shouldn't have put him back in to do that derby.
Is he within the organisation favoured as the best referee at the minute, or regarded as, to get these games?
I think that the PGMOL management regard perhaps Martin as perhaps, in their eyes, perhaps as their number one, but clearly he's not. Clearly he's not number one.
I think the point here that Mark has brought out is this step management process. And referees are educated that there's a step change. One, quiet word. You run alongside the player, you say, look, you're getting control, son. You might even just have a quiet word with the captain as well to say, look, you're number 9, needs sorting. Then there's the public review. So that's the next stage. Come in, I need to talk to you. And even so, I can bring the captain in and say, look, get this guy in order. Then there's the yellow card, and then there's the red. Mark has made a very good point that in certain situations with challenges that are mandatory, an excessive force challenge that endangers the safety of an opponent is without question mandatory red, right? That is no management process in that other than give the red and get the player off the field as play as quickly as possible. He didn't do that, and he didn't do that on 3 separate occasions, which is alarming in refereeing terms because it sends a signal out to every referee that says, what's going on here?
But only that, Keith, is our reputation, because everybody, the whole world was watching that game, and our reputation as the best referees in Europe is taking a right battering at the moment.
See, the point that I'm now getting really confused about is at the beginning of the season, we had England's number 1 referee then, Howard Webb, retire. We were informed publicly, were we not, that Howard would be the communicator, he would come out, he would advise, he would talk to clubs, all those sort of aspects in the game. And I'm still waiting for him. Howard is a very, very good communicator, and the public need to understand, like, we're coming in on a Tuesday, where's Howard on a Monday? And then I switch the TV on, Sky, and I'm thinking, where's Dermot Gallagher? So there is absolutely no communication coming out of the PGMOL that says, hey, we got it wrong, or we're doing something about it, because there's now an inconsistency running across the referees, and it's my belief that they don't know what a yellow card is again, and they certainly don't know what a red card is.
And handball as well.
And handball. And the only way you get that resolved and sorted isn't through the assessor that sat in the stand, he's no longer there, the invigilating process that worries me like mad. It's actually getting a group of referees sat in a room and saying, look, these things are unacceptable, we've got to get them right. And there are times when I was in charge, and I know it's history, I would, if the thing was running away from us, in terms of an aspect of refereeing that's worrying, beginning to be worrying, Mark would get a call, as the other referees would be, and it would be, come in, I need to see you. And I would then sit them in that room and say, right, what's happening?
He had me in many times. But Keith's right. I mean, I've just recently come out of the PGMOL and the select group, and some of these meetings, they just turn into a farce. There's no direction and there's no leadership, and Keith's absolutely spot on.
Despite that, we have to balance it, of course, and there were some good performances. That be said, at the weekend, you saw one of them, Mark, for RefCam, and that was Anthony Taylor in another London derby, West Ham 2, QPR 0, and you were impressed, I heard.
Yeah, I was. I mean, these games are quite fiery. I mean, the last time they played at QPR, I mean, it was about 13 cautions, and to be fair to Anthony, it wasn't the most difficult game. It was a fairly easy game, but it's the way he handled it, the way he managed the players, the way he spoke to the players, and got the respect to the players. And there was no dissenting against his decisions. That's because he got all the little things right, which lead to getting to the big decisions right. And we didn't see that in the London derby.
Hull 2, Crystal Palace 0. There was a gripe there from Neil Warnock, who's been very quiet on the subject of referees, unusually, since he returned to Premier League management. He claimed that there was a blatant elbow by Michael Dawson on Fraser Campbell, but TV pundits over the weekend weren't too impressed with that claim, were you?
No, I think that the point it's getting at is where do the raised arm becomes an offence, and really is that player using it? And to some degree, we know in our own mind, and this is how we educate referees. We say if that elbow is above the shoulder, then it truly is a weapon.
Yeah. If he's
This is angle, this is view, and how the arm is used. If the arm comes away from the chest, you know it's being used as a weapon.
What Keith's saying, if he leads with that arm, leads with that elbow in a reckless manner, then yes, a yellow card for a reckless use of the arm. But if he's looking at someone who does that, then that's totally different. That becomes
no
one
real
conduct.
intent or malice in that challenge. And we've got a rather interesting view on all this subject, use of elbows, coming up on cards on the table on this website. I've interviewed your old mate Kevin Davis on that subject. He knows a thing or two about it.
Listen, I was at Bolton with him
Receiving and giving,
many years, and every Monday morning he'd come in and start whinging me about the referee. Oh, getting over to section, it's always at me. Why do they keep having a go at me? And to be fair, he had a case. I think he was dealt a raw deal by referees on some occasions.
Well, he has his say now, and he's very, very balanced about it. It's a great chat. It's coming soon. Phil Dowd, Leicester 2, Burnley 2. Entertaining game, great finish. Didn't see any headlines about the referee in that one.
I think there's a few complaints about the Burnley equaliser about the free kick, but I think that was a free kick. So I don't think there's any complaints there.
Yeah, I think he handled the game well, he's a good man manager, Phil. Yeah. He's an experienced guy. Therefore, he could use it.
He refereed from distance, but he's experienced.
We've been singing the praises of Michael Oliver lately. It's only fair that we should perhaps, or you two, can bring him to task. He was doing Liverpool 2, West Brom 1, and certainly there seemed no doubt that the penalty for West Brom shouldn't have been a penalty, should it?
I mean, when you see it, you can see Michael hesitated. You can clearly see Lawrence outside the box, and Michael hesitated. So if you're hesitating like that, any young referee that's watching, if you're in any doubt whatsoever, you give it outside. I'd rather be wrong that way than wrong the other way by doing what Michael done, and it's not a penalty. And I've heard a bit of criticism about perhaps the assistant Darren Can could have helped him out. But to be fair to Darren, I mean I've worked with Darren many times. If he's got a view, he comes straight in and tells you.
Absolutely.
And to be fair to Darren, Lovrans was blocking his view. He would not be able to offer Michael anything whatsoever.
Yeah. Sunderland 3, Stoke 1. That was Neil Swarbrick. And to the referee's credit there, I think the only note I've got is about Stephen Fletcher doing the old this, which we talked about last week, and common sense appeared to apply, and there was no reaction from
as we said before,
the officials.
And it's about reinstatement's business. He's not incited anyway. He's not done anything to the crowd. He's just, he's not been playing. He's not been in the team. So he just wants to put his hand and hear the cheers and acknowledges his goals that he scored.
Okay. So that gets a tick. Lee Mason, Swansea 2, Newcastle 2. Another entertaining game. Don't recall any.
Well, I'm strange there because I don't recall any instance. But then Gary Monk came out on the radio and TV criticising the referee, and I couldn't see why on the snippets that we saw on TV.
Well, maybe we didn't see the full game because that might have been lower in the order or whatever.
Yeah.
Aston Villa 0, Manchester City 2, Chris Foy, ditto. Kevin Friend, Manchester United 2, Everton 1. A game of 7 yellow cards. Ref Cam was sort of balanced in covering that, saying that most of those yellow cards were justified. What did you think?
I mean, obviously there was the big penalty decision, which Kevin done well. He got right. I just felt once again we're looking at inconsistency on challenges, on careless challenges, reckless challenges. I mean, I thought he was inconsistent. I thought he issued a couple of yellows there, which he could have managed. I mean, it wasn't a bad challenge in the game. I just thought there was a little bit of inconsistency with his incaution of challenges.
Did you?
I think we're going too quick for the yellow card.
Yeah.
And I think that as a result of that, the yellow card, which is a caution, is in fact losing the weight in terms of the controlling measure that the referee's got. Referees have got to have a bit of courage, they've got to apply a bit of common sense, and in certain situations, pull the player to one side and have a word rather than actually go yellow, yellow, yellow. You know, I watched James Adcock's at Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday. He had a super game. I was really impressed. Movement, positioning, worked well with his colleagues. First half, managed the occasion. Second half, the players' temperature went up. He started to come in and he got into a row. And I was just thinking to myself, with a little bit more experience, and he's quite an experienced referee, he could put the foot on the ball, just slow it down. Take him to one
But
side.
expression, put the foot
Yeah,
on the
but
ball, we talk about in playing
going
terms.
back to Kevin Friend, I mean, he issued a caution to Van Persie for a reckless challenge, quite rightly so. Then Blind put in another reckless challenge, no yellow card. So then you got players thinking, hang on a minute, where's the consistency? And then about 5 minutes later, Blind put in another challenge, but he never touched the player, and out come the yellow card. Now, you know, that's where players lose their respect and get frustrated with the referee, because they're cautioning on the wrong things, on the wrong challenges. They're not picking the right challenges, are they, Keith?
I think that's one of the problems. I think the process needs to be looked at. I used to admire Neil Barry, funnily enough, because Neil used to carry the book, and he used to slow it down to a level that brought control back. So if the game's getting a bit hot under the collar, out would come the book, flip over the top, do the names and everything.
He was ice cold.
And then the yellow. And to some degree, that's what referees in the local park are now instructed to do, because he's the head of senior refereeing, and he follows that through.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance here. There's a balance when the management process could be improved and the old procedure of a yellow card slowed down.
But also, Keith, we need a bit of personality as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You two certainly got it. Thanks for entertaining us again. Mike Jones is going to be disappointed he didn't get a mention. He's not going to be, because by common consent he had a good game. It's the only match we haven't mentioned. Spurs 1, Southampton 0. So it's not all bad. We do try to highlight the good as well as the bad on this programme. There's no Premier League action this coming weekend. It's the international break, but it is an opportunity for us to discuss with our experts some of the issues within refereeing in a little bit more depth. So thank you for your company this week. Do hope you can join us next week as well on the Ref Show. Bye bye now.